So, as mentioned by Arturs, my name is Edgar Smelver. I work as a technical support engineer and trainer for Zabbix. Okay, and here today I will cover how to upgrade to the latest release of Zabbix 6.4 and what issues you might run into while doing that. Okay, so first, always with upgrades, you need to prepare. Okay, and documentation is the first thing you need to read up on. So there are release notes and upgrade notes for each version. Okay, as you know, Zabbix supports upgrading directly from older versions like 4.0, 5.0, and similar directly to latest ones. But in that case, you should always read all release notes and upgrade notes for all versions you are skipping. There might be very important information there. Okay, if you're upgrading just from 6.2 to 6.4, then you only need to read for this version. Okay, some of the things I'd like to point to which has changed. Okay, but if you're upgrading from before version 6.0, carefully check your DB versions. So we bumped the minimum DB versions for basically all supported databases. For MySQL, it's currently 8.0, MariaDB 10.5 and up, PostgreSQL 13 and up, Oracle 19 and up. Okay, if you will upgrade with older versions, Zabbix might refuse to start, and then you might run into lots of trouble. So the recommended procedure is first upgrade the database to supported version, and only then continue with Zabbix. Also here mentioned is the primary key, so that's a major change in database structure. And basically for the history tables and currently also all tables in Zabbix database schema, we now use primary keys. But for history tables, introducing these primary keys could be very slow. That's why this change is not mandatory, it's optional. Zabbix will continue to work without it, but well, according to our internal benchmarks with primary keys, it works faster, takes up less disk space. So it's recommended to apply this. If you install from version 6.0, then you already have them. Okay, some more changes. You should check up on this. Okay, there are certain things that might break, like little details in differences in how regexes work. Okay, ODBC checks now have their own pollers. So if you don't start more than the default one, and if you have lots of ODBC checks, then you might run into a problem. And well, just check up on this. Maybe you need to start more than the default. Okay, important changes in 6.2, faster configuration sync. So we introduced a schema where Zabbix can now much more efficiently load any configuration changes you have done in your configuration. And that means you can do it much more often. Okay, but upgrade might fail because of this, because we need certain settings to be enabled on your database. This applies to MySQL only. Make sure you do that before upgrading. One more very important change if upgrading from earlier versions. So in 5.0, we changed internal user password hashes, how they are stored in the database. If you upgraded to version 5 and logged in at least once, you are already using the new hashes. Okay, but if you upgrade directly from version before that to 6.4 or 6.2 and 6.4, we have now disabled completely the older schema, and that means you might not be able to log in at all. Okay, there's a workaround here in documentation. So, yeah. Okay, in 6.4, another little bump in supported DB version. So for MySQL, currently it is 8.0.30. So this one, make sure you have at least that. Okay, some more changes like libssh version, supported SUSE Linux Enterprise Server versions, and more. Also, proxy configuration now also uses this new optimized update schema. So proxies also can do config cache updates much more often. Okay, and supported database. It's not actually limited to only these, operating systems. It's not actually limited to only these operating systems, but we provide packages only for these operating systems. So again, if you want a simple seamless upgrade, make sure you are running one of the supported operating systems. It's still possible to compile from source, but because of certain dependencies and the versions on older operating systems, you might not be able to use certain features. So on these operating systems, all features are enabled. You'll be able to use Zabbix completely. Okay, and then before you actually do anything, our recommendation is to back up. So the first and most important part is back up the database. Okay, there are lots of ways to do that. I won't go too deep into all of them. There are more efficient ways, but as a minimum, a simple backup, simple logical backup might help you if something goes wrong. So make sure you definitely do have a database backup. Okay, additionally, you might want to back up configuration files, any scripts or any other customized files from your Zabbix server. Okay, just copy them out. Normally, this should not break at all. Configuration files can be recreated easily, but just for safety, please do that. Okay, and now I'm going to go through two different upgrade scenarios and show you what problems you might run into. First, a simpler option. Zabbix is running on Ubuntu 22.04. Version is 6.0.16, using PostgreSQL database with timescale DB. Okay, so what you need to do is change the repository package. So remove old one, load new release package and install it, and this will deploy the new repository for Zabbix 6.4. Apt-get update and install. So all the packages that you do have that you do use here. Okay, it might ask you some questions. You probably know what to answer there. Usually you don't want it to replace the config file because that has important information for you. And after that, restart Zabbix server and watch the log file. You should see something like this. It will tell you that it is doing a DB schema upgrade. Okay, it will go through that and it should finish successfully. Once it has finished, Zabbix will start and you are now running 6.4. Okay, so very simple option. Just install, upgrade, you're done. And also the front end has been upgraded, running 6.4 and works fine. Okay, now let's look at a bit more complicated version. In this case, we have Zabbix running on Rocky Linux 8, and we have the native high availability introduced in 6.0 running here and one DB node. Okay, so how to do this? First part I'd like to start with is updating the standby node. So you can check which node is currently active, go to the standby node. Just like in previous example, we need to update the repository information. So we install the new release package, and then we run a command to upgrade the packages. Again, it might ask you some questions. In this case, yes, I do want to download and install the new versions of the packages. After that, again, watch the log file. And in this case, I have some errors here. Cannot perform database upgrade. Node ZBX node 2 is still running. If it would be unreachable, it would skip it, but it doesn't want to update because another node is running, which makes sense. We don't want to start doing something with the database when another Zabbix server is still using it. Okay, so let's repeat the operation on the active node. Okay, again, install repository, upgrade packages, yes. And now let's watch the log file. In this case, we have another error. It was displayed previously also, but now it's the most important one. Cannot perform DB upgrade in high availability mode. All nodes need to be stopped, and Zabbix server started in standalone mode for the time of the upgrade. So why I have this error? Because I did not carefully read upgrade notes. And there's a section there about upgrading this high availability cluster, which explains that basically for the upgrade procedure, I need to disable high availability. In a short way to do that is just stop Zabbix on all standby nodes, and on the active node, on just one of those nodes, disable high availability by commenting out AJ node name. Okay, done. One more restart of Zabbix server. Now it started the upgrade, but again, an error. Query failed. You do not have super privilege and binary logging is enabled. And logbin trust function creators was not set to 1, so the upgrade cannot continue. It fails. Okay, so what I need to do, already display that in upgrade notes, set global logbin trust function creators to 1. For the upgrade procedure only, it can be turned off later. And now it continues. Zabbix server restarts automatically on such failures. So it's enough to just set this, and it will continue the upgrade procedure automatically. Okay, and now finally the upgrade finished. Zabbix server upgraded the database, and the server started working. Okay, now you can turn this off again, and you can enable high availability again. So on the active node, just uncomment this, and this allows it to be an active, well, in high availability, restart it. And after that, you can also start Zabbix on all other nodes, well, as soon as they are upgraded. Okay, yeah, and on node 1, it started in standby mode because node 2 is already active. Okay, good. Zabbix server is up, high availability is enabled again. Now I go to the front end and I see an error. So on Rocky Linux, the default PHP version is 7.2, but as I read in release notes, current minimum version is 7.4. Okay, and well, if I am changing PHP version, maybe just jump directly to 8.0 because 7.4 is also already somewhat old. Okay, again, in this case, one command, DNF module switch to PHP 8.0. This will automatically remove older version of PHP, reinstall it with a newer version, restart of the services, and the front end is up and running. Okay, one more part still left. If you have proxies, you also need to upgrade those. Probably you know from experience that at least previously, Zabbix did not work with older versions of proxies. Okay, so this is what we see now. If we go to proxies, in this case, some proxies have been upgraded. Some are for some reason very old. Some are in previous versions, but in a semi-supported state. Okay, so with version 6.4, it's all fine. It's working, no issues. With versions before 6.0, they are completely unsupported, and they will not be able to deliver any data at all. With versions 6.0 and 6.2, they are in semi-supported state where they are able to deliver collected values, so they can still continue to operate according to the configurations they have locally. But they cannot do config updates, so they will not find out about any new hosts or any other changes you made. So you can work for a while, but proxies still should be upgraded. Okay. Now, the procedure, by the way, is very similar. Again, install new repository package and upgrade the proxy. Also, in Zabbix 6.4, we will cover how to update the template, but the new Zabbix server template, all internal templates now have automatic detection if the proxy is compatible or not. So, well, once you have the new template and for any future upgrades, you would get a problem telling you that some proxy is incompatible and should be upgraded. Okay, so there will be a notification about that. Okay, so again, DNF update Zabbix proxy, sees a log. Well, it might do some history saving and then it stops. And after that, it does not start anymore. Okay, in this case, this is all you see in the log, no other entries. So what's wrong? Well, again, I did not carefully read release notes. There are some changes. And if I try to start from command line, it says that it cannot parse the config file because there is an unknown parameter, start history pollers. And there's a link to our documentation here. History pollers no longer exist on the proxies, so this parameter needs to be commented on. Maybe you did not have it, then you would not run into this issue, but if you had it defined, this could happen. After that, it should update, so it's fine. But with SQLite, the procedure has always been that you need to remove the database file for an upgrade. Now you no longer need to do that, or at least not manually. So upgrade procedure for SQLite database is now also automatic, and that just includes removal of that database automatically and recreation of it automatically. So no need to do any more manual changes. And after that, all proxies are up to date, running 6.4, and you see there are no warnings here, no errors, they work fine. Okay, now after the upgrade, what else you should do, what else you should check? Okay, one of the first things that you should definitely do is upgrade at least internal templates. Okay, when you install new Zabbix installation, you always have all the newest templates. But when you upgrade, we do not touch the templates. You might have made some changes, which we do not know about. We don't want to accidentally break them. So template upgrade at the moment is still manual. And the way to do that, well, you could get the new templates from a new installation of Zabbix, or just as well, they are published in our Git repository. So go to git.zabbix.com, choose project Zabbix, choose your version. This is very important because right now, current might have even more changes which are incompatible with 6.4. Okay, so choose your version and then go to templates, app, Zabbix server or Zabbix proxy and download the template and import it into Zabbix. Okay, since 6.0, we have introduced this diff-like list of changes when doing imports. So you will see exactly what was changed when you import this template. Okay, and one of the major changes that were introduced is now we have a vendor and version field for the templates. So on list of templates, you can now nicely see which version this is and be sure that you have the latest version of the templates. Probably a good idea to also update other templates, but that part is really up to you. The procedure is very similar. Download the template from Git repository, import it into your Zabbix installation. After that, some more changes you might want to do in your config. Because of the new, more efficient config cache reload on Zabbix server, you can update cache update frequency to 10, which is now the default. Okay, if you had not set it, this option is commented out, you will already be using this new default setting. Okay, proxy is also now supported. So for passive, well, for active proxy, you need to change it in the proxy's own config file. Again, the default now will be 10. So if it is not commented out, you will have 10-second update interval. For the passive proxy, this option is in the server config file and same value can be used. Okay, and even agents now support, active agents now support instant refresh of active checks. Okay, so once you update the agent, it now also supports this. Okay, that's all. Are there any questions?
1 second, I was just answering one. Okay. We have a couple. So first off, please address the upgrade process for templates. I noticed that the 6.4.3 template for Linux via SNMP is updated, but want to understand the process now for maintaining and updating these templates in 6.4.x.
I think it was covered. So basically, the procedure is very much the same as for the internal templates. Okay, you need to go to our repository or, well, get the newest version of the template some way. Git repository is one way to do that. Download it, import it. Right now, there are no other, well, ways to automate this. This is still manual procedure. Update the templates that you do require.
Yeah, and to add on top of that, the way you can sort of stay aware of when a new template is released is reading the minor version release notes. We usually specify that a template has been changed or
True,
updated
yeah,
and so
true.
on. Yeah. Another thing, where can we specify the creator of our templates? I guess that's about template versioning.
It's one of the fields in template settings, though.
Is it really? Because I recall initially it was the only way to change the template versioning creator was to open up the template file itself.
Okay, I will need to check.
I think it's still true that you have to open the template file, the YAML or whatever format you have the template in, and then you have to populate those fields manually, and then you can import and you'll see.
Okay, I'll need to recheck that. Indeed was the case initially, but for some reason
I can see
yeah.
I can see that Kaspers is smiling in the chat. Kaspers, you can also chime in.
Yeah, I can confirm that currently the only way how you can do it is with a template file, with XML YAML or yeah.
So I hope that will change soon, but yeah, well, in that case, it's true.
Another question: what is the purpose of these template creator and template version fields? Will they add some warnings when importing or something like that?
You'll see it in the change list, just like all other changes. But basically, the purpose is to define who created this template, where it's coming from, and well, exactly that. Which version is this? So that once you upgrade next to 7.0, you can easily spot that. Oh, okay, this template is still from 6.4. I might need to update it.
Another question. I'm not sure what this is referring to, but maybe you Edgars know. What about the maps issue? I have no idea if there's
what maps issue.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll need an elaboration on that. Is there a way to automate update of Windows agents?
No, not in Zabbix itself. There are other tools which do that very well, like Ansible, Puppet, and any other automation tools, but Zabbix does not have this feature built in.
Are templates always compatible between minor versions?
Should be.
Should be.
Okay, there could be bugs. I would not like to give you any guarantees because there could be bugs, but they should be.
So the official stance is should be.
Yeah, well, that's my stance.
Okay. Okay, and that's all for now. We still have a couple of questions not related to this. I'll answer them in text. Thank you, Edgars.